Hello, I'm Dr. Jim Taylor, and welcome to Prime Family Alert. This segment of Prime Family Alert focuses on raising independent children. One of your most important goals as a parent is to raise children who become independent and self-reliant adults. Certainly in early development, your children count on you. As infants, they rely on you for nourishment, cleaning, and mobility. As your children grow, they do become more self-reliant in the basic areas of living, but still depend on you for love, protection, guidance, and support. As your children reach adolescence and move toward adulthood, they become even less reliant on you and gain even greater independence in all aspects of their lives. This process of separation prepares your children for the demands of adulthood. But this progression toward adulthood is not inevitable, and it's often stymied by well-intentioned but misguided parents. Contingent children are dependent upon others for how they feel about themselves. Some parents want to foster this dependence. These parents act on their own needs for power and use control and coercion to ensure that they remain the dominant forces in their children's lives. Contingent children can be recognized in the following ways. They depend on others to provide them with the incentive to achieve. They depend on others for their happiness because they have no ownership of their lives and little responsibility for their own thoughts, emotions, and actions. They're reinforced without appropriate rewards or limits, and regardless of their behavior. They're also often poor decision makers because their parents hold the belief that they always know what's best for their children and make decisions without soliciting their children's input. Independent children, by contrast, differ from contingent children in several essential ways. If your children are independent, you provided them with the belief that they're competent and capable of taking care of themselves. You offered them the guidance to find activities that are meaningful and satisfying for them. You gave your children the freedom to fully experience life and to learn its many lessons. Independent children can be recognized as well in the following ways. They're intrinsically motivated because they are allowed to find their own reasons to achieve. They were given the opportunity and guidance to explore achievement activities of their own choosing. Their parents used extrinsic rewards appropriately and sparingly. They have a collaborative rather than controlling relationship with their parents in which the children's ideas and wishes are solicited and considered. And they're good decision makers because they were allowed to consider various options and, with the support and guidance of the parents, make their own decisions. At the heart of whether you'll be raising a contingent or independent child is whether you understand the essential responsibilities that you and your children need to accept. Taylor's law of family responsibility goes like this. If family members fulfill their own responsibilities and do not assume others, then children develop into independent people. Your responsibilities revolve primarily around providing your children with the opportunity, means, and support to pursue their goals. The psychological means include providing love, guidance, and encouragement in their efforts. The practical means include ensuring that your children have the materials they need, proper instruction, and transportation, among other logistical concerns. In turn, your children's responsibilities relate to what is necessary to maximize the opportunities that you give them. These responsibilities include giving their best effort, being responsible and disciplined, staying committed, and giving an achievement opportunity a realistic try. Additionally, children must complete their tasks and exercises, get the most out of instruction, be cooperative, and very importantly, express appreciation and gratitude for others' efforts. I've identified 5 types of contingent children. All of them are created in similar ways. Children develop a particular contingent style dependent upon their temperament and that of their parents. First, pleasers will do everything they can to get the love and attention they crave. Pleasers may often be perceived as model children who are successful and exceptionally giving to others. Yet, in pleasing others, they often neglect their own needs and as a result are unfulfilled and happy. Second, disappointers are non-achievers who never live up to expectations. They're usually bright and demonstrate considerable promise in a number of areas. For example, they score very highly on IQ and achievement tests, but they rarely accomplish much. Disappointers relieve the pressure they feel from their parents by simply not trying. Disappointers avoid their parents' expectations by sabotaging themselves, for example, with lack of effort or simple avoidance of an achievement activity, or with significant problem behavior such as drug use or criminal misconduct. Third, reactors do the exact opposite of what their parents want them to do. Parents often interpret this behavior as independent, but in actuality, reactors are highly dependent upon their parents in a paradoxical way. Reactors wait to see what their parents want them to do, and then they choose the course that is in direct opposition to it. This reactive behavior usually emerges in the form of nonconformist dress, poor grades, quote-unquote unacceptable peer relations, and possibly alcohol and drug use. Fourth, frustrators cause tremendous frustration in their parents and in themselves. Frustrators aren't bad kids in any way, and they rarely get into trouble. And they do fairly well in school and in other achievement settings. Yet they're often viewed as underachievers who don't perform up to their ability. For example, a frustrator might get a B+ rather than putting in a little extra effort to get an A in a class, or be named an alternate to perform in a musical, or lose a tightly contested sports competition. Finally, rejectors refuse their parents' expectations, choosing a course of their own in spite of their parents' objections. Rejectors do not simply react by choosing the opposite, but rather thoroughly discard whatever their parents have to offer. Interestingly, rejectors may be viewed as the most healthy and adaptive of the 5 kinds of contingent children because they've separated from their parents and become autonomous and self-directed people. But rejectors pay a price for this extreme disengagement by discarding even the most positive contributions their parents make in any future relationship they have with their parents. Independence is not something that your children can gain on their own. They have neither the perspective, experience, or skills to develop independence separately from you. Rather, it is a gift you give your children that they will cherish and benefit from their entire lives. You can provide your children with several essential ingredients for gaining independence. Give your children love and respect. Show confidence in your child's capabilities. Teach them that they have control over their lives. Provide guidance, but then give them the freedom to make their own decisions. One of your tasks as the parent is to teach your children about responsibility. The best way to ensure that you and your children assume the appropriate responsibilities is for each of you to know what your responsibilities are. If you and your children have a clear understanding of what's expected of each of you, then it'll be a whole lot easier to stay within the confines of those responsibilities. Have both you and your children make a list of what you as a parent should do to help your children succeed. Then make a list of what your children's responsibilities should be in their own efforts. This process provides absolute clarity to both you and your children about what your quote-unquote jobs are. It also allows for no confusion at a later point when either you or they step over the line and assume the other's responsibilities or neglects their own. Many parts of our culture send a message to children that nothing is their fault. Whether rationalizing bad behavior, looking for scapegoats on which to blame misfortune, or faulting others for their failures, children are constantly told that they do not need to be responsible for their actions. Yet, the ability of children to hold themselves accountable for their actions is a critical part of becoming independent. The reluctance of children to take responsibility for their actions is based on their desire to protect themselves from failure. By blaming outside factors, such as other people, bad luck, or unfairness, children can safeguard their egos from harm. Early in your children's lives, you need to keep them on a fairly short leash to ensure their safety. This care builds your children's sense of security by teaching them that they have a safe place to return to if they venture too far, and that you're there to protect them when needed. There is, however, a fine line between security and dependence. When your children have established their sense of security, you must encourage them to explore the world beyond the safety net that you provide. This push out of the nest allows your children to test their own capabilities in the real world and to find the sense of independence within themselves. I'm Dr. Jim Taylor for Prime Family Alert.